I'm going to show you how to make these super easy junk journal booklets with a Christmas theme. You're going to need a yarn needle with a large eye and a handful of these little binder clips. Paper clips work too. You're going to need a copy paper wrapper or anything that's a sturdy type of paper. You'll see how we're going to use it in a minute. And you will need 2 different types of wrapping paper. You're also going to need a length of yarn. In this case, I'm going to use the curling ribbon that you wrap presents with. I'm going to cut the ends off the paper where it has the label. Paper wrappers have this wonderful wax coating on the inside, and I've often wanted to experiment with an iron-on kind of situation with that, but I haven't done it yet. Anyway, we're going to use this because it has some strength to it. We're going to fold it in half long ways, and then I'm going to kind of rub it against the edge of the table to kind of get some of those wrinkles out. What I'm going to do is fold the bottom part up to use that as a pocket for the inside of the cover. I chose this wrapping paper to use for the inside cover, and I'm just trimming it down to fit. The inside wrapping paper does not have to go the full length because we're going to fold it inward to make a pocket, so you don't have to cover the entire sheet. I've also trimmed the wrapping paper I chose for the outside cover. The outer wrapping paper should be the entire length and width of the copy paper wrapper that we had. Now I'm going to clip everything together so that I can give it a final trim to square it up. Here's how it's going to look roughly with the pocket. I wanted my signatures to be about the size of a sheet of notebook paper folded in half, so I'm just measuring to make sure everything's fine. Now that I have that part figured out, I'm going to go ahead and crease the bottom pocket. This is what we have so far, all squared up and clipped together. I had a piece of tissue paper that I strengthened with some copy paper sandwiched in between, and I stitched all of that together for a page. Here's how it turned out. It's not perfect. You can see it's uneven here at the bottom. It's a junk journal, that's fine. And then I left the little strings hanging off the side. I'm going to start selecting papers that I'm going to use in my one signature. I'm going to use 20 sheets of paper. I've started putting a coloring book page in the center. I just think that's really cute and it gives it some more interest. I use a variety of different papers just to keep it interesting. I like to use a graph paper, some coffee stained paper, things like that. Even going to use a Christmas card and envelope. I want all of my pages to be about the same size, so I'm going to use this tissue paper that I stitched as a guide. I'm going to lay down a ruler and then just tear each sheet to where they're all the same size as that tissue paper. I like the torn edges, it just looks crafty. I'm going to start folding all of my pages to create my signature. I have all of my pages sized and folded, and we now have our signature. I've decided to stitch the top of my pocket. Here's how it looks. Now I'm going to clip all around the edges, and I'm going to start with my hole punches. I'm going to carefully fold the cover in half and then crease it down the middle. You're just going to use a single hole punch and punch holes all the way around the outer edge. I also like to round my corners. You don't have to do that. Once I have the holes punched all the way around the outer edge, it's time for our stitching. I'm going to thread the ribbon through the large yarn needle and then stitch all the way around. I like to start at the top center because normally I'll have enough yarn or string to come all the way back down through the middle of the book and use as a bookmark. That wasn't the case with this green ribbon, but I wanted to use it so bad, so I'm still going to start in the same spot. I'm going to hold the ribbon in place with these little clips as I work. That way it will not unravel. The ribbon has two different sides. One has glitter and one is flat, so I had to make sure that I didn't twist it as I stitched. Make sure you bring the needle up through the bottom each time so that it will loop around the edge correctly. Here's how it looks once the stitching is complete, and I'm just going to tie a knot here at the top. And since this is curling ribbon, I'm just going to give it a little bit of a curl. I'm going to clip my signatures together, and then I'm going to make a template so that the holes I punch in the signature will match up with the holes that I punched through the cover. I'm going to mark where the top of my template is, and then I'm going to fold it in half and place it in the inside crease of my signatures. I'll be using the pamphlet stitch, so I'll only need to punch 3 holes. I'm going to secure the template to my signature so that it won't slip while I'm punching the holes. Then I'm going to punch the holes using a thumbtack and then an awl so that I can make the hole big enough for the yarn needle to fit through. I'm now going to use my template to punch the holes through my cover. I'm going to use some embroidery floss to sew in my signatures. I always measure roughly 4 lengths of my cover for my signature thread. And now I'm ready to stitch in my signature using the pamphlet stitch. And that's all you do. That's how simple it is.